I'm looking at that video.
Right.
And I'm like, who are those two dudes that were there?
Right.
And then I look here.
Whose spot are we replacing here?
Yeah. Dudes? Michael Carlyle, Leroy Lucero, Red Menace TV, the new and improved Michael Carlyle. Very impressed. Obviously, does it sound weird to say COVID's been very, very good to you?
It's been better for me, I guess, than a lot of people.
Yeah. Is it fair to ask how much weight you've lost?
Sure, 188 pounds.
Dang, yeah. I am impressed. I am impressed. That's really good.
All those 5-hour workouts every day when I'm working from home and sweating to the oldies and whatnot. Yeah.
So do you wear the Richard Simmons tights and the half shirt?
I do. The headband. Yeah, absolutely the half shirt. It looks more like Zeke Elliott if Zeke Elliott let himself go.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have the fake wig that you could put on for Richard Simmons' hair?
No, but I do wear the spandex tights and all that. The leggings, of course. Kind of like Jamie Lee Curtis and what was that movie back in the day with John Travolta? Blowout or something?
Oh, yeah. And I think
kind of like that.
When we were talking about Tybo, it was Billy Blanks, isn't it? Isn't that
Blanks or Banks or something?
Like that. Yeah. Anyway, welcome back to Red Menace TV.
Dude,
we're finally
it's been so long, I don't even remember what camera I'm supposed to look at.
Exactly. Everything's kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Weird times.
For sure.
Last year we were in the basketball season. So much. Basketball went away. High school basketball kind of continued. There was no baseball. Everything was crazy. Obviously, Bob Davie was let go. Mm-hmm. He was right before.
Well, that was December-ish. That was right before the end of the season. Danny got hired in December.
And there was a lot of excitement building up for Lobo football. And then COVID came and screwed everything up. And then lockdowns came and everything else. And then now we are in the fall. How did you survive? Well, they did end up bringing baseball back, but how did you survive no March Madness? How did you survive no opening day of baseball and all that stuff?
It was interesting, man, and I'll be honest. And of course, doing the radio show, the Sports Bar over on The Sports Animal every weekday. My first thought was, holy crap, we do a sports show and there are no sports going on. Surprisingly, it was easier than you think. There was just enough stories, obviously no games, but there was enough stuff going on that you could get by. And then, UFC comes back. I love NASCAR, but NASCAR came back. Look, we don't talk a lot of NASCAR on the show, but we did. Then it kind of built into, all right, will baseball come back? The NBA's talking about a bubble. It was interesting and it was very different, but it actually wasn't as tough as you might think.
Well, the whole thing was just crazy. It's like, okay, what? All of a sudden you found out chores to do at the house that you never did before.
Went to the basement and started working out, man.
Started working out, changed our eating styles. Obviously, people watch news, trying to do all this stuff. The not having sports was hard.
It was.
It was difficult. The not having that outlet was difficult.
Even being sports fans, I don't think you realize how much sports you watch, how much sports occupy your time until you don't have sports anymore. And then all of a sudden it becomes Big Bang Theory reruns, Tiger King on Netflix.
Did you watch that?
Absolutely, I love Tiger King.
Okay, I did not see it.
I love Tiger King, I'm not gonna lie. And then you're looking for other things to watch on your streaming services and all that, other series to get into and all that. It was definitely tough. It was definitely different from that standpoint.
Okay, all right. So Netflix became a big thing. Hulu,
Amazon Prime.
Amazon
things,
Prime.
Yeah.
Did you like it when they did the old football games or the old baseball games?
No, just because look, if it was a game worthy of showing, you already knew what was going to happen. Yeah. And look, I'll watch a movie over and over. I'll watch the same episode of a TV show over and over. Sports are a little different. That just doesn't do it. I'll tell you what I did do. I started watching a lot of Korean baseball.
Did you?
When ESPN started showing those. Now, I wouldn't get up at 3 o'clock in the morning when they showed them live, but in the afternoons that they would show them again. And it timed out that they would start them and they would end right at 3, right as we were going on the air with the radio show. So I could have that on while I'm prepping and getting ready and watch that. And look, I still couldn't tell you the name of a single player.
Right.
It it was at least some form of sports, and it was something to help get us by until we got baseball and the NBA and hockey and all that back.
What about soccer? Did you watch soccer?
I did not.
Okay, still.
No.
Okay, so then sports does come back eventually. We had bubbles.
Yeah.
We had baseball didn't do the bubble. They traveled, right?
Correct.
And then there was all the other stuff that went on, the social justice stuff and everything that went on.
Oh, yeah, that stuff too. Yeah, that was pretty significant.
That was kind of like the 1-2 punch.
Right. But let's not blow past the lead here, because finally sports did come back. And especially in the case of baseball, almost as soon as it's back, it looks like, wow, it's not going to last. They're going to have to shut it back down. The Miami Marlins have a big outbreak on their team. The St. Louis Cardinals, and there was also some instances there of maybe everybody not doing all the COVID safe practices. But as quickly as baseball came back, it looked like it was going to shut down. They were able to weather that storm. They made it through the regular season. They're in their World Series now. Of course, the NBA and the NHL didn't have a lot of those problems because they were in a bubble and actually, performed very well as far as that goes. But, we get baseball back, and almost as quickly as it's back, it looks like it's going to have to go away again.
So I'm not a baseball fan, but I did watch a little bit. Seeing the paper cutouts was weird.
I like that better than what the NBA and NHL did with the virtual fans.
Okay.
And look, I came around to the virtual fans eventually.
WWE did it too, right? The Thunderdome?
Yeah,
Dome?
the Thunderdome, and I don't like that either.
Okay.
But, it's goofy, but look, these are interesting times, and we all know what's going on and what was going on at that time. So I kind of got a kick out of the cardboard cutouts.
Okay.
And I thought it was... Look, there's no way to replicate having fans there, right? So in some ways you kind of embrace it. Hey, this is kind of hokey, but it's funny. We're in on the joke too. We don't expect you to see the cardboard cutouts and think, oh, there are real people there. You know what it is. And for a lot of teams, fans could pay to have a cardboard cutout of them there. So that gave you something.
You weren't in Wrigley?
No, I was not.
Okay.
They would stick cardboard cutouts of celebrities and things like that. So I mean, look, it was what it was. It was kind of making the best of a bad situation.
Okay. And then we get to fall.
Right.
And obviously football, which is still king in the United States. I don't care what anyone says. College football, NFL, even high school. NFL decided to go with it. College canceled it first. I think what made him come back? The loss of money?
Well, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten of the power conferences decided they weren't going to play. The ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12 decided, nope, we're going to push forward. Now that they did some modifications to their schedule, but once everybody saw that they were going to push forward, the Big Ten comes around and decides they're going to play the Pac-12.
Mountain West.
Also, I would say also in there, and I believe the Mountain West actually made their decision before the Pac-12. But yeah, the Mountain West and others. And I think of the D1 schools, there's only like 4 or 5 that aren't playing or aren't planning to play now. And I know we'll get to this. Obviously, there's some issues with the state and UNM as far as the global football season. But by and large, all the D1 teams, all the FBS teams are playing in some form or another this season, which is very interesting. And it hasn't been without bumps in the road and without hiccups, but they're pushing forward.
And actually, college really hasn't had the problems. Like NFL has had to do some shuffling of a few games.
I believe the news on the Lobos yesterday made 39 FBS games up till now that had been either postponed or canceled. It hasn't been completely smooth sailing, but again, everybody's trying to do the best that they can. Yeah, over on the NFL side, I mean, you had 2 weeks ago that they just moved a ton of games around to accommodate getting games played that needed to be moved and things like that. And the problem for the NFL moving forward is going to be you're running out of bye weeks because every week goes by, more teams go on their bye, so you lose that flexibility.
Well, they had the Tuesday night game.
At a Tuesday night, you had 2 Monday night games this week. I guess technically one was a Monday afternoon game, but yeah, it's not what you would do in a perfect world. In a perfect world, it would take an incredibly extenuating circumstance to play a Tuesday night game in the National Football League. But look, no matter what you think about what's going on right now, I think we can all agree these are not normal times. They're all extraordinary circumstances, and everybody, whether it's in real life or whether it's the sports world, you see everybody trying to adapt the best that they can.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I wish we could get like the fake crowd noise here, like they have at the football stadiums.
If you had only said something, I have fake crowd noise ready to go.
Oh, if I would have only curses. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back to talk a little local sports here on Red Menace TV.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Hey, welcome back to Red Menace TV. The new and improved Michael Carlyle and Leroy Lucero here.
You go back to that open and look at you.
Yeah,
I mean, you're looking pretty doggone okay too.
You motivated me
so.
because I have to keep working on this because it's still there. But you're motivating me, Michael. You're motivating me. I know. Recently, they opened up gyms again, so...
I probably have a leotard you could wear if you want to start working out with me.
No, I'll pass on the leotard.
Just to be clear, yeah. I do not have leotards or leggings or any of that stuff.
You don't have what was it? Was it Olivia Newton-John, Let's Get Physical?
Sure.
Do you remember that video?
Oh, okay. Dude. Yes. Well, I remember it. I worked out to it yesterday.
Oh, I was going to say, for a young boy, that was kind of a dream. But anyway... local. So yes. We talked a lot about national sports. Locally, obviously, some of the things that have changed since then. Man, it seems like we had almost a complete switch over with the Lobo basketball roster, between people transferring and then new people coming in. Lost an assistant coach. What else has changed?
Lost a couple, maybe 3 assistant coaches when it's all said and done.
That's true. And then
for a variety of different reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
And then of course. Women's basketball, that suffered. Lobo football, I think, and I'm not going to sit here and say they're on the verge of going from worst to first or anything like that, but there was definitely some hype. There was definitely some excitement.
Look, there are a lot of sad, upsetting things that have gone along with the pandemic, but from a sports standpoint, one of the biggest disappointments for me is the momentum that had been building for Lobo football from the hiring of Danny Gonzalez, putting together the staff, Rocky Long coming back to be defensive coordinator. You know, we had done we did our show out at UNM's signing day party. And when they asked us and we agreed to do it, I thought, there'll probably be 20 people there and a bunch of staff and all that. Man, that place was, you could hardly move around in there. That they had to open up more space, and there were so many people there. There was so much excitement. And then almost as quickly as the excitement builds, everything gets shut down again, and unfortunately all that momentum kind of comes to a halt. And depending on what happens with UNM and the governor, let's operate for a second on the assumption that they do play. You're still not going to have fans. You've lost a lot of that momentum. Now hopefully you can show up, put a good product on the field. You can still have fans excited from afar, and when we are in a spot where fans can come back, you pick back up on that momentum again. But to me, that was really one of the sad things about all this is the momentum that they finally had going for Lobo football, momentum that we hadn't seen, quite honestly, since Rocky Long was the head coach.
Yeah.
Maybe the day of another digit on the scoreboard, and we know that momentum didn't last.
Sure.
But I mean, in all seriousness, we hadn't seen momentum like this for football in forever.
There was definite electricity that was there. I remember going UNM. They had a kind of meet the coach deal up at the Northeast Heights, and I got out of class and ran over, and the place was packed. I mean, wall to wall, and seeing all the I want to say the older coaches that were here before, some of them, and meeting some of the newer ones, and man, it was exciting. Yeah. I mean, you could feel it. People were like, okay, the band's back together. Let's get this going. I mean, I at the time I wasn't like this team. Like I said, they weren't going to go all of a sudden to become one of the top teams in the Mountain West Conference immediately. But at least there was excitement. There was a reason. There was a motivation to go to the stadium, I think is what it is. I think once COVID hit and everything else, and you knew there wasn't going to be a season. I mean, you just could feel, or at least I didn't feel there was going to be a season. I thought that the program as a whole, I know you're a Twitter guy. I mean, you do Twitter.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how much. I mean, I see your posts and stuff, but I thought UNM did an amazing job.
I agree.
The football program. I think they did an amazing job on Twitter. All the coaches, even Rocky has and even he put a couple of posts, or whoever he had.
Yeah.
Here, kid, put a post up here for me. You know, whatever. But all the pictures and they kept recruiting.
Yes, absolutely.
And is like, being a guy that used to write a lot about recruiting and all that stuff, I know how much people really enjoy that. People do. They enjoy recruiting news. And even though we don't know these people or names, but the fact that they kept putting players that they were just talking to or that they offered, and then all of a sudden other people would like it, so I think they did a great job with that. When they announced that the season was not going to happen at first, I was really disappointed, and I was like, dang, all that stuff got snuffed out. I think Coach Danny Gonzalez has done an amazing job with the Zooms, trying to keep things going with the fans, with the media, trying to get people involved, keep them involved, even if we don't have a season. And then when they announced that, okay, we're going to get things going, this is going to happen. I know Danny had, there was a couple of articles in the Journal where he talked about our defense is not going to suck like it has the past decade. And I know that got me really pumped up, and I was like, okay, I know I can't go to the stadium, but you know what? I've been watching the NFL on TV, and it hasn't been so bad.
Right.
You don't really notice it. You just say, okay, it's an away game, and that's it. That's all it is. And so I wasn't too disappointed. Really a bummer that, and then I thought, you know, Air Force Colorado Springs is not that far. In a couple of weeks, if they can play, maybe a road trip. So there was some excitement there. Heartbreaking that, and then we'll see if they decide to allow them to play at all.
Yeah, it's tough, and you know, with the restrictions that are in place, with the numbers where they are in Bernalillo County, it just wasn't feasible for the Lobos to go up to Colorado State this weekend in Fort Collins, and you know, they're still preparing as best they can. You know, they're only practicing in small groups. I think it's groups of 5.
Yeah.
But they're still preparing and hoping that something can be worked out to open up the season next week. Look, I don't know what's going to happen. Certainly, selfishly, I'd like to see that happen. Sure. But you know, as long as everybody can stay safe, and I do know that UNM is very confident in the procedures they have in place and what the Mountain West had put in and what they're doing above and beyond that you can keep people safe. I hope it works out. I truly do, but I have no insight whatsoever on whether or not we'll actually see Lobo football this season.
Yeah, and then obviously there's two sides to that story, right? I mean, is Colorado, no, every other state seems to be doing okay for the most part as far as California, I guess their games have been going off without a hitch.
And they're opening up. I saw a story this morning that in some places they're going to allow a certain amount of fans at games. Look, I don't want to get political on this at all because half the people will agree, half the people will disagree, and you upset half the people. But I think our governor has been at least consistent in what she's tried to do. That's why, unfortunately, I wasn't all that surprised when the news came down that the Lobos weren't going to be able to play. I do hope something can be worked out. It's tough. But like I mentioned earlier, I think of the FBS teams, I think there are only 5 that aren't playing
One of them's
this
New Mexico
season.
State.
Right, one is New Mexico State. I think if the Mountain West plan is good enough for every other state, I think it should be good enough for here. Now, again, and actually it wasn't, because the Lobos in their original proposal, are going above and beyond what the Mountain West had put in place. But I think it would be a shame if everybody else can play, but our governor says, no, you can't play. Now, again, she's also looking at more than just the football team. She's looking at the entire state and trying to keep people safe. So I think I get where she's coming from too, but if you're going to let everybody else play across the country and the Lobos are comfortable with their procedures, I think they should be allowed to play as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a good thing that Alden just called for a break. I'm really biting my tongue. I don't want to get political. We might have to, because we have to talk about the high school programs and what's going on down there. So we'll take a quick break here on Red Menace TV. We'll be back.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
All right, welcome back to our final segment of Red Menace TV. Today, of course, Mika Frankl will be here with Cage Minds for the second half of the show. We talked a little bit about Lobo football.
Yeah, just to be, can you lean back that way just a little? The distance, man.
You want the distance? Well, I don't know.
Whoa, what are you doing? Whoa,
sorry,
hey,
sorry. I feel you. Okay. I'm not used to it. I'm used to us being a lot closer.
Yeah, easy.
I think the table that we used to have gave you a sense of security that you don't have.
Maybe.
Maybe that's it. So we talked a little bit about football, college football here locally, and obviously the disappointment of not having the game, which I personally think they should be playing. That's my personal opinion. I understand why they didn't, and I don't want that fight. But one thing that I will fight, or things that I think of, is the high school. One of 3 states in the entire 50 that's not playing high school sports right now. And and our numbers are not higher than anybody else's. Kids don't necessarily contract COVID as much as us old farts do.
Actually, they do. It just doesn't affect them the way it does the older. That's why I had to start working out,
And they're young, right?
Yeah, for sure.
When you're young, you don't have to Anyway, look like this guy. You're young.
I just look young.
Yeah. About 30 years off of your face. But I do think that the kids should be playing in some form. And I'm not just saying that because I miss doing Friday night games here on ProView Networks. I just think that the kids should be playing. I think we could work something out, especially volleyball. Well, I don't know, soccer. They're playing soccer all around the world. They're playing football all across the nation. Cross country is not going to hurt anybody. Track, field, some of these things. Basketball season's right around the corner. Let them play. They're kids. Let them play. they have parents. They have the ability to make a decision for themselves. I think we should look into it. I think there's a lot more safety things that we now know that maybe we didn't know when this first started.
Mm-hmm.
I totally understand everything that we did at the beginning. I may not have agreed with it all, but I at least understood it. I don't understand why high school kids aren't allowed to play right now.
And unfortunately, I can't give you a good answer for why that is. I can speculate on it, and in general terms, I think there's probably some liability concerns.
Possibly.
Look, everybody's like, yes, let our kids play, until your kid gets sick, or heaven forbid something worse, then all of a sudden, look, it's human nature, we're looking for somebody to blame. So yeah. I think that's part of it. I think the governor and our state officials have taken the attitude of, when it comes to COVID, when it comes to the pandemic, we're going to err on the side of caution, which I can totally get behind. Mm-hmm. But it does stink. It's a lot of things don't seem fair, and whether that's we're talking about sports or what we're talking about in the real world with, how this has affected people and businesses and jobs and all that. None of this is fair. None of this is fun. None of this is right. But here's what I'll say about that. You come up with the plan and you try to stick to that plan. You adjust the plan as the numbers get better. Mm-hmm. You adjust it again when the numbers get bad. And unfortunately, our numbers are going in the wrong direction right now. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing or making excuses. I'm just trying to provide a little insight on,
sure.
on what I believe is going on in the thought processes right now.
Right, and like I said, this isn't. I don't want it to be a political statement. That's not what I want to do. I just when you're a young man, when you're a young boy or a boy or a girl, and you're in high school, you only get so many years that you can play. The reality is most of these kids are not going to move forward into the next level.
True.
Right, and so. To miss it, to do without it, hurts them. I know a few athletes, obviously, in what I do, what I've been doing here, and in the world that that I'm in, and the world that we're in.
Sure.
And so yeah, for them it's a tough time, and I'm just not sure that it's the right move. That's just my opinion, and I totally understand what you presented and what you said, and I agree. It's not fair. I think we need to try. That's just my mm-hmm. opinion. Is I think we need to try, and why not try with young people that really don't seem to be affected as bad as others. And that's just my opinion, and
sure.
and it is what it is. Like I said, I'll be watching, even though the Cowboys are horrific. I mean, they're almost as bad as the Washington. What do you call them now?
Football team.
Washington.
Washington football team.
You know what? I would protest that name. I
kind of like it.
Well, I just protest it because they don't really play football.
Well, okay. That's.
I mean, that's,
you know what?
That's a misnomer.
That's fair.
I mean, I do. I do think, as far as putting the numbers on the helmets, I think that's a cool look. Yeah. That's kind of a throwback. So I kind of dig that. But yeah, the Cowboys are horrific. Obviously.
That defense is brutal, man.
Oh, they suck.
Even with Dak being out,
mm-hmm.
you should have enough offense to be in every game and to win your share of games. But heck, the defense can't stop anybody. And oh, by the way, Dak goes out, Andy Dalton becomes the quarterback, and all of a sudden Zeke Elliott can't hold on to the football.
Yeah, and
you guys got problems.
They're talking about trading for Ryan Fitzpatrick now. Here's the thing. That team under Mike McCarthy?
Mike McCarthy, yeah, the head coach.
It looks as unprepared and undisciplined as a Bob Davie coached football team.
Never mind trading for Ryan Fitzpatrick or Matt Ryan.
Get Jason Garrett back?
Well, all right, there's that. But trade for some guys on defense.
Yeah.
That's where your problem is.
Anybody. No,
yeah.
they're just, it's a terrible team, and they look terrible. And yeah, it's brutal. But
I hear you.
They're still in first place. Go figure. 5 wins with that whole conference. Or that
could be.
Whole, yeah.
Well, if 5 wins, might win that division.
Might win the conference. Well,
yep. 5-11 could win the division.
Brutal.
It is brutal.
Well, it's good to be back, Mike. It's great to see you. I think
Indeed.
You're looking great.
Thank you,
Alden,
man.
it's awesome to see you as well. We're going to throw to Mika Frankl at CageMinds.com here in a minute. We'll see you all next week. God bless you all.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous.
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening.
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up.
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Leroy, Carlyle, thank you guys. We're back finally. The Cage Minds TV portion of Red Menace TV here on ProView Networks. It has been a while through this pandemic. Glad to be back. Unlike most sports, combat sports only really took a small hiatus through this pandemic. Dana White and the UFC forging forward. If you didn't know already, the first North American promotion to get back to work during this pandemic was the UFC. Dana White and the MMA community continuing to find ways with a lot of these promotions to be able to put on fights. So to catch you guys up on everything that you've missed since the last time I talked to you guys. So there's going to be a lot here that we're going to go through. First off, really, I was on vacation, I believe I told you guys, when the pandemic hit. And that weekend I actually did watch a UFC event. The UFC was in Brazil. Charles Oliveira set a new record for submissions. 14 submissions now in the UFC, a record. He caught Kevin Lee in a guillotine choke. That card also saw Gilbert Burns TKO Damian Maia. As we go through everything, that one is going to be really pivotal to remember. Due to travel restrictions for an unthinkable 5th time, yes, 5th time, we lost Ferguson versus Nurmagomedov. The fight seems inevitable to never happen. This, though, gave opportunity. The opportunity was to Justin Gaethje, nicknamed the Highlight, the former WSOF lightweight champion, who had been nothing but a highlight reel, putting towards fight of the night efforts since signing with the UFC. Here was his big opportunity. On short notice, Gaethje comes through. Instead of being a reckless, forward pressuring brawler, you saw movement, you saw angles, you saw the most incredible defense that he's done in his career, avoiding shots, shutting down the wrestling of Tony Ferguson. Ferguson never even really tried to wrestle in the fight, and just beating Ferguson up, a 5th round TKO. And here we have the interim lightweight champion, Justin Gaethje. That's going to be big for what we're talking about. That same night, Henry Cejudo validated himself as a champ, UFC flyweight and bantamweight champion. A leg kick barrage that eventually found a stoppage of former champion Dominic Cruz. Cejudo promptly retires, vacating both title belts. We also saw Glover Teixeira ground and pound Anthony Smith to the point where Smith was losing teeth and had most of the majority of the MMA media talking about when is it time for a coach to throw in the towel. A very harsh conversation that really led to it's a camp-by-camp decision, because certain fighters say if you do throw in the towel, like Smith said, I won't have you in my corner again, you have to believe in me. That was a hard one to watch. Then we continue to have the rise of Gilbert Burns, mentioning that name one more time. Burns, with the biggest win of his career, a unanimous decision over former champion Tyrone Woodley, a 6th straight victory, earning him a early 2021 opportunity at the UFC welterweight title, which will come against his former teammate Kamaru Usman there in South Florida. We then saw UFC 250 pop up, and a whole bunch of bantamweights had some amazing performances. But most importantly, Amanda Nunes defeated Felicia Spencer, defending her women's featherweight title. The Lioness continuing to roar and continuing to be dominant. Cynthia Calvillo moved from strawweight over to flyweight and then proved that she can be a contender in the division, first off being former title challenger Jessica Ai in a main event. Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker put together a Fight of the Year candidate that saw Poirier come out on top and still prove that he is one of the best lightweights in the world. We then saw the revealing of Dana White's international masterpiece, Fight Island. The UFC heading to Yas Island in Abu Dhabi to continue to be able to put on international fights. The first event ends up being a massive pay-per-view. It was supposed to be Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman, mentioning that name again, Gilbert Burns. But that fight was unable to happen due to a positive COVID test. Insert now the hero to the story. Jorge Masvidal saves the pay-per-view that was trending quite low. It hits over 1 million buys. Jorge Masvidal, the BMF champion, once again proves his stardom, his superstardom, and also proves his heart, his guts, and his will. Even though he is dominated by champion Kamaru Usman, coming on short notice, flying from Florida to Vegas and then all the way around the world to Abu Dhabi while cutting 20 pounds of weight, the lore of the BMF champion continues to grow while the reign of the welterweight champion is fully intact, and Kamaru Usman is a dominant figure that is must-see TV. The guy can strike, the guy can wrestle, and he looks like he is cut out of stone. We also saw Peter Yan take claim of Henry Cejudo's vacated bantamweight title with one of the most brutal ground-and-pound barrages that we've ever seen against Jose Aldo, and quite literally one of the latest stoppages that I've ever seen in MMA. Something that really should not have happened to the legend. Aldo took a vicious, vicious beating. The card also saw a third title fight where Alexander Volkanovski proved that he is the great and was once again able to outpoint on the cards Max Holloway in retaining the featherweight title and able to move on from the feather champion. And that was just the beginning of all of the spectacular fights that would happen on Fight Island. Deiveson Figueiredo would take claim of the UFC flyweight title, being able to put to sleep Joseph Benavidez with a rear naked choke. We also had Calvin Kattar outwork Dan Ige, and an introduction to the UFC's next brightest rising star, Kazmat Chimaev, who submitted John Phillips. And then 10 days later would appear back in action on the Robert Whittaker Darren Till card, being able to TKO Rhys McKee. That Darren Till Robert Whittaker fight, another stand-up classic, and one that would prove that the former champion in the middleweight division, Robert Whittaker, is still there and is still a bona fide contender. Stipe Miocic, as we return to Las Vegas, would end the trilogy in the war with Daniel Cormier, not allowing Cormier to wrestle and outstriking, putting on a beautiful boxing performance, and also really stifling the grappling with underhooks and putting Cormier's back against the cage, not really even letting him fight for wrestling positions. A beautiful performance by Stipe Miocic, who was fighting fires most of the pandemic and trying to help out to his local community, then turn around, has a fight camp, and proves that he is the heavyweight champion of the world. You had Frankie Edgar moving to his third weight class. That was a UFC fight night there in Las Vegas. Welcoming to the bantamweight division was top contender Pedro Munoz. It was a 5-round war, a back and forth, close fight that Munoz felt he won, but Edgar walks away with the decision victory. You had Alexander Rakic prove that he is ready for title contention and top contenders with a beautiful performance getting past Anthony Smith. We knew that Rakic could strike, but his ability to grapple was really eye-opening and something that not many people expected to be able to see. John Jones, as we're talking about the light heavyweight division, decided he was done with the belt and vacated the 205-pound title, opting to move on to what looks like, and we can speculate, will be a run in the heavyweight division, but could also lead to a super fight with current middleweight champion Israel Adesanya as the two continue to tweet at each other and go back and forth as it would be on Twitter and social media. We had Michelle Waterson from the Jackson Wink Academy. On short notice, her and Angela Hill were supposed to be a co-main event, jumped up to a main event, and put on a beautiful 5-round affair that saw Waterson come out on top. We saw a grudge match get settled as Colby Covington and Tyrone Woodley finally got to lock horns in the octagon, and it was Colby Covington coming out on top with a TKO victory, an apparent rib injury to Tyrone Woodley. The continued annoyance that is Colby Covington is something that the MMA world cannot get rid of. He continues to put on big performances. That card also again saw the UFC's next rising star, Kazmat Chimaev, score a clean one-punch knockout of Gerald Meerschaert. Chimaev has now had 2 fights in the UFC at middleweight, 1 at welterweight, and it's speculated that his next bout will be a UFC Fight Night in December main event. Still looking for an opponent to take him on. We had UFC 253, where Jan Blachowicz picks up the light heavyweight title, taking that belt that John Jones had vacated with his clean boxing and catching Dominic Reyes, TKOing the previously really unblemished and looked to be uncrowned champion. Everybody had wanted to see the Reyes-Jones rematch because people felt like in February that the judges had not scored the fight correctly and that Reyes really was the uncrowned champion. Blachowicz left no doubt with the TKO victory and a dominant performance. Also dominant that evening was Israel Adesanya, taking apart Paulo Acosta with low kicks and then catching the Brazilian upstairs for the TKO victory and retaining his title. We saw Carlos Condit return the octagon and look as great as he has in the last 3 years, switching up his game, going from orthodox to southpaw, really confusing Court McGee and outstriking the former Ultimate Fighter winner for a decision victory. That fight night was headlined by Holly Holm, putting together the most complete performance of her MMA career. We saw grappling, we saw boxing, we saw kickboxing, we saw aggression from Holm, who could be in line for another bantamweight title opportunity. Amanda Nunes is going to fight Megan Anderson, it looks like in December at UFC 256. Holm could be the next one that Amanda Nunes faces when she returns to 135 pounds. We also saw the greatest knockout in UFC history as Joaquin Buckley's kick was caught, and then he did a spinning back kick. Left kick caught, spinning back kick, right foot, chin, and Ipa Kasanya was out before he hit the ground. It was incredible highlight reel stuff. Corey Sandhagen with a spinning back heel kick hits the top of Marlon Moraes, and a TKO ensures that Aljamain Sterling will be the first challenger for Peter Yan, and that Corey Sandhagen is a major player in the bantamweight title picture. And then we got this past weekend where Brian Ortega settled his grudge with the Korean Zombie. A spinning back elbow in the second round cut Zombie open and really had the Korean fighter on the rails for the rest of the night. Brian Ortega back in the win column and looks to be the next challenger for Alexander Volkanovski and the UFC featherweight title. We got a lot more to talk about, including what's going on with Bellator, LFA, and the boxing world. We'll catch you guys on the other side of this break.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Welcome back to the Cage Minds TV portion of Red Menace TV. I'm Mika Frankl. Now that we've got you through everything that happened with the UFC, yes, 24 events since we've been here. Let's look at what Bellator has been up to. Bellator has thrown 9 events, and they've even been overseas. We'll get to all of that. Bellator, a new light heavyweight champion, Vadim Nemkov, has dethroned double champ Ryan Bader. Some spectacular leg kicks, just really flat out being faster on the feet and being able to really make Bader feel uncomfortable on the ground once Bader scored takedowns. Vadim Nemkov, TKO victory, and your new Bellator light heavyweight champion. We also had a battle for the vacant bantamweight title. Patchy Mix was on Juan Archuleta's back early, but Archuleta was able to survive the rear naked choke positions, and for the final 3 rounds of the fight, cut angles, avoided the grappling, and landed a plethora of punches to be able to claim a unanimous decision and become the new Bellator bantamweight champion. Bellator also became the first promotion, major MMA promotion, to throw an event in France now that the sport is legal in that country. The card was headlined by the most famous French fighter that I've seen in MMA, Czech Congo. Congo, who had been on a 3-fight win streak, unfortunately saw that come to a halt, and now Timothy Johnson, after a grinding, outworking, grueling performance, is your new, in my opinion, heavyweight #1 contender and should be the next person challenging Ryan Bader for the Bellator gold. Bellator also moved from Paramount Network to now being on CBS Sports Network. This past Thursday was the promotion's first major event in prime time, where Chris Cyborg again showed off her dominance, lighting up Arlene Blencowe and then being able to take her to the ground, flattening, getting the arm under the neck, and scoring her first submission victory of her MMA career. Chris Cyborg has not lost a step, still looks to be dominant, and has her sights now set on the world of boxing and making her professional debut in the sport of pugilism. Bellator has been busy. They've also changed their philosophy on free agents, really bringing in a lot more prospects instead of looking for big-name veterans. So that has been all great to see, really, from Bellator MMA. My friends at Legacy Fighting Alliance, the top feeder promotion to the UFC and Bellator, they've been very busy also with what they've called Phase 1, Phase 2, and now on Phase 3, where they had 2 phases in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which saw Vanessa Demopoulos with an inverted triangle choke put Sam Hughes to sleep to become the inaugural LFA Women's Strawweight Champion. Jimmy Flick catch Gregory Fisher while standing and had an arm choke and finished that submission on the ground to claim the promotion's flyweight title. You saw Bryce Logan outwork Jacob Rosales in just a war to claim the lightweight title, and then Bryce moves on to being signed with Bellator. You saw Jaleel Willis take Vinicius De Jesus to the limit, outworking De Jesus. Willis picks up the LFA welterweight title and also a Bellator contract. Vidad Lavashvili was able to take karate stylist Ricky Steele to the ground, quickly got his back, found a rear naked choke, captured the bantamweight champion. Bellator is currently in Connecticut doing their events at the Mohegan Sun Arena that has been now nicknamed the Fight Spear. Legacy Fighting Alliance was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and now is in Park City, Kansas, just outside of Wichita. Next week, we'll have a lot more coming up on the next LFA event, including the couple of local fighters that are going to be on that card. Talking about local fighters, the world of boxing sees another champion from New Mexico, Angelo Leo is now your WBO Super Bantamweight Champion. He picked up that belt there in Connecticut at the Fight Spear, winning a decision. Great performance from the incredibly talented young man who has fought through adversity all of his life, has put it all on the line, him and his father, to reach this pinnacle of the boxing game. And I said that the world of MMA has not taken their foot off the gas at all. That continues this weekend. The UFC is once again on Fight Island. They're closing out this stint of what's happening on Fight Island with a mega fight. It's UFC 254 Saturday morning. Yep, I said it, Saturday morning. For us here in New Mexico, local time, 8:15 in the morning for those prelims. So Pacific time, you're looking at 7:15, 10:15 on the east. That starts off your prelims. And the prelim card will go there first. You have Joel Alvarez, Alexander Yakov kicking it off. So Spain versus Russia. Yakovlev, a striker. Alvarez, a lot of potential. You have in women's flyweight action Liliana Luil, who really made a spectacular debut with an armbar submission victory, taking on also ground favoring Miranda Maverick, who comes from Invicta. Casey Kenny taking on Nathaniel Wood, a couple of bantamweight prospects. That one's going to be contested at 140 in a catch weight. Kenny presses the pace. His striking has taken to another level where the guy was already an incredible grappler. Wood, also known for his striking, and is nicknamed the Prospect, just to let you know how good that one is. You also have the debut of Shavala Kamahov against Alex, the Brazilian cowboy Oliveira. Oliveira, we know he's grimy, he's gritty, he can put you to sleep with a rear naked choke. He has no problems brawling with opponents. Shamaev comes in with an incredible finishing rate, a big name in the European circuit, and an unbeaten 12-0 record. So definitely a prospect right there to watch. The feature prelim, everybody loves the skyscraper. Stefan Struve, the big smile. He's the 6'11" heavyweight. He's going to be taking on another very lovable heavyweight, Bam Bam Taya Tuivasa, the beer-drinking Aussie who will drink the beer right out of your shoe. Struve, the longer the two fighters, he has the problem on keeping guys on the outside with his incredible reach advantage, a great ground game off of his back, but is seen to be susceptible to some big shots. Tuivasa, an incredible hype train, looked to be a next heavyweight contender for Australia, and then kind of hit some bumps in the road against tried veterans like Junior Dos Santos. So Tuivasa, this is an opportunity to get back on track, and I feel that he's a favorite coming into this fight. We move on over to that six fight main card, and this starts off with Magomed Ankalaev and Ian Kuntalaba, a fight that the UFC has been trying to have them rematch for quite a while. Their first fight, Ankalaev hit Kuntalaba with a head kick, appeared to be very hurt. Kuntalaba was doing a rope-a-dope and did such a good job of wobbling and trying to appear to be hurt, looking to draw his opponent in, that the ref eventually jumped in, calling it a TKO, and then Kuntalaba, I'm not hurt. So a lot of intrigue and a lot of angst to be decided between those two. No love lost with Ankalaev and Kuntalaba. This will be the fourth time, I believe, the UFC has tried to remake this rematch, but positive COVID tests from an asymptomatic Kuntalaba keep postponing the bout. In women's flyweight action, Laura Murphy is meeting very short notice opponent Liana Shrevka. Shrevka, I don't know much about her. 8-1 with a grappling pedigree. Murphy looking to put herself in flyweight title contention. She came from a jiu-jitsu background, and the striking has come along leaps and bounds. Coming off of earning a contract on Dana White Contender Series, you're going to see Philip Haas against unbeaten Jacob Malkoun. Malkoun making his UFC debut. Heavyweight action, two strikers, powerful hands of Walt Harris, the Kyokushin karate of Alexander Volkov. That is your feature fight. Your co-main event of UFC 254. This one is to see who will challenge Israel Adesanya next for the UFC middleweight title. It's Robert Whittaker, the former champion, against Jared Cannonier. Cannonier has been an absolute destroyer. Just took out Jack Hermanson, injured Anderson Silva, 13-4, has come down from heavyweight to light heavyweight and is now in the middleweight division and looking to supplant himself. After Israel Adesanya's title defense at UFC 254, he called out Cannonier. He said, "You put down Whittaker and you're next for the title shot." So the implications are big for the co-main event. I haven't even mentioned the main event yet because we got to take this in. It's the biggest lightweight fight the UFC could possibly make. Khabib Nurmagomedov, 28-0, defending the UFC lightweight title against 22-2 Justin Gaethje. Gaethje, 19 of those 22 victories come by way of knockout. So you have unbeaten versus very powerful. You have all the hype and momentum that Gaethje has after taking out Tony Ferguson on short notice. What an absolute victory that was. What a revelation it was. Gaethje really did evolve and transform his defensive ability. Barely took any damage against Ferguson. We know about the wrestling pedigree that he has in his back pocket. Can Nurmagomedov get this fight to the ground? You feel like Nurmagomedov, if he's going to win, he's going to get this fight to the ground as he does. And he's going to put his will and his pace on Gaethje. He's going to possibly lock up his legs as he does with everybody, that leg lock. He may trap the arm with the Dagestani handcuff where you get one arm behind the back and the other hand, and you are wrist controlling and you are leaving your opponent vulnerable and wide open for the strikes. That is the formula for Nurmagomedov. Gaethje has to be calm, has to be composed, and has to use angles because normally, for most of their career, both of these fighters have been linear, forward-moving guys. Gaethje changed that in his last fight, was hitting angles, different directions. He's going to look to use his leg kicks to take away Nurmagomedov's ability to get in, to take away those muscles to really drive for the takedowns. We've seen Gaethje twice in his career with victories from leg kicks. He's a devastating striker. Again, heavy-handed with those 19 knockouts. This is spectacular. This is the UFC lightweight title on the line with massive implications. UFC 254. I implore you that if you haven't watched an MMA event since we've been gone, this is the one to check out. The lightweight title is on the line. It's great to be back. For Carlyle, Leroy, I'm Mika Frankl. Thanks for watching Red Menace TV.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com.